And we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. And a very good morning to Brendan.
Hey, good morning, Paul.
Joining me all the way over from the west coast of America, isn't it?
Canada, west coast of Canada.
West Coast Canada. Yes. I knew you were 8 hours away, so yeah.
near Vancouver, British Columbia.
Right, cool. Now, what have I got in front of me?
Big box, Stars of Akarios.
Big box.
This is a game that we launched on Kickstarter literally as the pandemic hit. It was March 15th, 2022. We launched this. Frosthaven delayed a couple weeks, and we stuck in that window. So it's fun, and now it's two years later. It's delivering to backers. This is fantastic.
So when the pandemic hit, did that delay at all your launch date, or did you just sort of sneaked it in there? You didn't think about let's wait for the pandemic to pass.
No, so we were kind of committed, and like I had a friend ask me the day before we launched, "Hey, Brendan, like optimistically, what is the top number that you would raise in this campaign?" And I was like, $250,000, like 250,000. That was like my best case scenario, 250,000. I think we did that in the first day. Yeah. And then we ended up doing like 920 Canadian. And so, I'm saying that just because this was like a new experience for us. And so we didn't know any better. And we figured, hey, this is a good time to launch. We'll have the sunshine while Frosthaven doesn't. So. Yeah.
And this is your first game. Is that right?
Not true.
Not true.
I launched I did a Kickstarter, just kind of a completely solo effort, like 5 or 6 years ago. It's called Last One Standing.
Okay.
Don't look it up. It's painful to play, but it was kind of like a battle royale Fortnite knockoff.
Okay.
Put it in board game form. This is like right when Fortnite and PUBG were getting popular.
Yeah.
And did a Kickstarter and raised like $26,000 or something.
Okay.
And it was just kind of a fun kind of intro into the space. And then Stars, though, is just, it's a different type of game.
Yeah.
So Stars is like,
Some people know this as Starlight.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us when the name changed, because it was on Kickstarter as Starlight. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So if you Google Stars of Akarios, you will be directed to our Kickstarter page. I don't know where it is in the rankings. Hopefully not high anymore. But you'll see that the whole page is kind of populated with Starlight material.
Yeah.
And we had to change the name after the Kickstarter was launched. As soon as we just became aware of a different IP using a similar name.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so we changed it, and Stars of Akarios is the name.
Yeah, I mean, I personally prefer Stars of Akarios, but I didn't know whether it was a choice of yours to change it because you thought this was better, or it was another reason. It was another reason.
Well,
right.
Yeah, and a choice.
Let's jump in. Let's see what we've got. So I've not really opened this before, but what have we got? We got here. Oh,
So this is just like a little fun map of the galaxy. It has no relevance on the gameplay. We just threw it in there.
Yep. Why not?
Yeah, just a little bit of lore, a little bit of I'm trying to look at the different places. So these are all there's a couple different kind of sector galaxies that you'll or regions that you'll explore in space. So I think they're all labeled on here. The Tresian system. So. Yep. Yeah. It's
the
cool.
Abyss sounds nice. I think I might go
there.
Yeah,
the Abyss. That might be a future expansion.
Oh right. Okay. Watch this space.
Yeah.
So for those people who are watching this in the chat who don't know anything about this game, just give us the elevator pitch for it, other than it's in a big box.
Yeah, totally. So Stars of Akarios is a 1 to 4 player cooperative sci-fi narrative-driven game. Lots of space combat, kind of a choose-your-own-adventure branching storyline, and kind of a fun twist on this is look at that. A fun twist on this is that you can step off of your plane and then go on some world explorations. As you go. And so it's a big branching narrative, and lots of fun, lots of miniatures, lots of cool trays. all the stuff. Sorry, it's fun. It's fun watching you unpack it here.
Yeah. So we've got we've got a board, and the board is pretty much just a hex map because this is for the starship combat part of the game.
Yes, exactly.
But then, as you mentioned,
So how?
go on.
Yeah. Well, just how it kind of works. There's the kind of macro game, and we'll get there in a second. It's the space exploration. So all the pilots they're on board kind of the capital ship called the Sparrow, and we'll see the Sparrow. It's underneath the tray on the bottom left.
Where's the Sparrow?
Underneath there, and then underneath that, and then that big ship. Okay, so that's the Sparrow. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is like your capital ship. And so what happens is, as a squad, you're moving the Sparrow on this galaxy map, and then you're initiating missions from that galaxy map, and it will either launch you into a space combat or a world exploration or kind of like a lore aspect.
Right.
And so you get this kind of macro.
Where is that galaxy map?
It is underneath top left.
Oh, it's under here.
Yeah, so it's cards. It's similar to it's similar to like the Tainted Grail style.
Yeah, Tainted Grail, Seventh Continent, that kind of game.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I think the same size of cards as the Tainted Grail actually, though. Yeah.
Which is good. So my sleeves for the Tainted Grail, which I don't need anymore, will fit for this. Handy.
Oh yeah, cool.
Right. Okay. So I'm not going to reveal too many of these because presumably there's going to be spoilers. But basically there is a galaxy map that you will explore as the game goes on, and it will tell you which card to put to the left.
Yes, exactly, and it kind of all branches out in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when we go to certain places, is that where we read narrative sections from this rather large scenario?
Yeah. So it'll queue you up to to go to a specific scenario, and then either it will kind of launch you into space combat. Or world exploration, or kind of a lore bit. So kind of something that happens is that at the end of a lot of like quests or missions, it will say, "Hey, Scout Region V 2.2."
Yep.
And basically that is telling you, hey, take the Sparrow to the card 2.2, and so you have to kind of like navigate there, and then you can initiate the next aspect. So it's got a little bit of like an MMO vibe as far as like how the quest link together. But yeah, so that's
so this is the start of it. 001 training mission, and there is the board. So we saw the hex map earlier on. We'll set up the hex map with that. It tells you the story, so there's quite a lot of narrative behind it, special rules and everything else. And then when you finish that scenario, there's a conclusion, and you'll read the next bit. And then that will move you on to the next one, and so on and so forth.
And sorry, I left because I just want to.
Okay.
So just yeah, it is a lot. But if you don't want to read, just download the app.
Yep.
So it's on the App Store and Android. It's fully voiced over.
Right.
And then a kind of a neat little side bit is you can actually make your own stories and publish them and stuff on the app, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
So we can get to that later.
If we were to sit down and play this campaign from start to finish,
yes.
2 questions. Is there a branching storyline where some of the missions we just won't get to because of the choices we've made? So that's a yes. And how long will it take us to finish, and I'm saying finish in quotes, the main storyline? Yeah.
So the branching narrative bit, you will unlock pilots and ships as you play, and unfortunately for the completionist, you actually cannot unlock everything in one playthrough, because there's decisions where it's like either this person joins your squad or this person joins your squad kind of deal. And as far as the timeline goes, I'm thinking it's 50 to 100 hours.
Okay.
It's quite significant. We're polling our community right now. I think we have a couple people into Act 2. So there's the prologue, which is kind of teaching you the game, how to play, introducing you to all the systems.
Yep.
And then we have three acts, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. And you've got so nobody out there has finished the campaign yet.
Not that I know of. A lot of
Right.
people are still kind of in the middle of Act 1, and they've played, 10 to 30 hours.
Right. Okay. That's cool. So what have we got? We've got lots of smaller trays. Let's get to the bigger tray later, but we've got lots of
Yeah.
smaller trays here that all look similar. But obviously there's different stuff in them. So what are these individual trays?
Yeah, so these are the player trays. So you can go ahead, pop one open. So each player gets one of these trays, and it will store their ship, their pilot, and their modifier deck, which is their kind of a la Gloomhaven-esque, and all of their upgrade cards.
Right.
So it looks pretty neat once you kind of stack everything together. So if you actually open up the scenario book, and then flip to the inside cover, you'll see a kind of to the very inside cover, you'll see a little bit of a diagram on the bottom left there.
Right, that tells you what goes in your tray. Yep.
Yeah, so all of your upgrades on your ship and your characters and all that stuff, it all kind of fits in there, and it's snapshot. So it's like a really quick and easy save system for each of the players.
When you say all of the upgrades on your ship, are all of the players not on the same ship, or have they got their own ships?
So there's the capital ship, which is the Sparrow, and then everyone has their own individual fighters, like
that launch out from the Sparrow.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Right. So you're upgrading your ship, and then you're storing those components in this, so that you can then put that away at the end of the game.
And if you can pull out like the massive boards, like the double layer the boards, that'll give people a good idea of like
these.
Yes, those.
Let's get that out of the way. Right. Okay. Now, dual layer boards, there's always a problem of warping. Have you found that issue with these?
So I haven't yet.
Well, let me see. No. I mean, these aren't warped yet.
No. And here's what I'm thinking about why they might not warp like a lot of dual layer boards is because and I've had tests probably for about a year now, like these boards, and I haven't seen any warping. I think the top layer, it doesn't have a lot of surface area. The top layer.
Yeah. So all of these where you put stuff is gaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm actually thinking that is why there's not going to be as much warping as a lot of dual layer boards.
Yep.
That's my guess. I'm not 100% sure, but that's my guess.
I would guess as well. So this is a player board. So each player will have one of these. And it looks like those cards that we stored in our tray, they will go on here at the start of the game.
Exactly. So this is kind of your user interface for space combat, and there's a couple different. Yeah, and there's about 70% of the missions and like your time spent playing Akarios is space combat, so it's like the bread and butter of the game.
Okay.
So top left we have like the hull, the shield, your player stress.
And you'll track these with cubes, presumably?
Yes, exactly. There's different colored cubes, but absolutely. And then all the the ship miniatures. There's a spot for everything. It's really satisfying having the big board. It's a table hog, but it's cool.
Right. So each player will have one of these. They'll put the ship there, the weapons there, and everything else. So we've got 4 player boards for all of that stuff. Now, punch boards. Is there any spoilers on these? Or not?
No.
Right.
No.
Okay. So we'll open these. We have 4 punch boards.
There's
5. 5.
So we'll see a lot of the it's a lot of like the terrain pieces, the enemy standees. So if you didn't purchase the miniature pack, you'll use these standees, which they're nice. They're full color, which is cool.
Well, this answers my question of what colour should I paint the miniatures, because we've got these
there you go.
that are telling me what colour to paint them. So what we've got here, it looks like we've got map. Oh, right. So I always do Paul's punch test in these unboxing videos, and these are punching out quite cleanly. So we've got some map overlays, and we've got lots of these miniatures. Which is what the plastic stands were for, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you've got the miniatures add-on, you don't need these.
No.
But otherwise, you put that in there, and you've got a little number on the side, And there is the
and
ship.
and then that little the little arrow actually shows you the forward facing direction, which is
Got it.
important.
Because these alien
space
ships,
battle.
you never know which way they're facing.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Right. So we've got lots of
and
the ships instead of the miniatures.
then
These
yeah,
look
punch out some of those guys, and then some of the smaller ones. You can flip them over. You'll see the
Right. Okay.
you'll see the and then if you go to the dual layer board, I'll show you where they all
we've got some asteroids and we've got some
yeah,
planets. More asteroids
some
and
scenario
planets.
markers.
So here we go. Dual layer board.
Yeah, so
Looks
you can
like
put that in and you flip it around. Yeah, if you flip it around, actually, it's
right,
so there you go. And then you can put the pilot on just above it,
Nice.
and the pilot spot. Boom. Yeah. So, and then you'll have your miniatures. The pilot miniature will go in the circle area, and then yeah.
So when do you flip it over then? Is that when it's an enemy? Or
no, you flip it over. It just has the stats, so it has your starting stats.
So you'll track that.
So it's really just
one.
It's kind of a cosmetic thing.
Right,
I like having it face up just because it looks cooler, but
yeah. Now, in terms of the enemies that you're going to be fighting, they've each got their own dual layer board as well. So there's a lot of dual layer stuff.
We went. This game isn't cheap to produce, Paul.
No. But these enemies, these are cards rather than tiles.
Correct. Yeah.
And where are those cards? That will be in this that we haven't opened yet.
Yeah, in the big card tray. Yeah. There's. I'm trying to. There's like 960 cards in the game.
There's a lot of cards in this game.
Just under 1,000.
I mean, this is impressive. This is pleasing. This makes me happy.
Yeah. So I do apologize for all the sleevers out there. You won't be able to use this tray if you sleeve your game.
Right.
But that's just life. And then the other thing. This is my fault. I forgot to tell our manufacturer to flip these cards upside down. They came in the box upside down.
So
I would have rather them been like this, right?
Yeah. Because it says start here.
yeah, I know. Okay. So it's just like some of these cards aren't like that, but others are. Anyways.
Okay. Right. So enemy ships. So which one am I looking at for enemy ships? That's presumably these.
No, just above that.
These ones.
So yes. Right. So the enemy ships will have kind of two cards. They'll have their card themselves, and then they'll have like their combat deck, which is like their AI behavior.
Yep. And that will go in there. So you slot that in there.
You have a lot of sleeving fans on your channel, Paul. I'm a
sleever as well. If the cards are shuffled. So if these cards are never shuffled, if you always just select one and take it out and put it in, then I don't need to sleeve it. So but if I ever shuffle these, then I would want to sleeve them.
The only cards that are getting shuffled are the modifier decks, right? And I guess the combat decks too, but they're a deck of 10. Mm-hmm. So it's not. I don't know. I just whatever. However you shuffle a deck of 10.
In terms of the card thickness, they're good quality. They're not thin cards at all. So.
They're actually too thick.
Oh right.
That's fine.
How can a card be too thick?
Well, it's so a high quality card is like a 310, GSM ivory core. This is a 350 GSM.
Okay, I thought they felt thicker than normal. So
so it's cool. Like they're good quality cards. If you hold up one of those to the camera, we can kind of walk you through it a little bit. So top we have their hull, which is their health, and then the shield value, and then their base attack value, which gets augmented. So then you would mark the hull and the shield with the enemy board, like the dual layer enemy board.
Take the board here, put that in there, and then we take one of the yellow cubes.
Yellow green cubes.
Yellow green cubes 6. And mark it on the 6. The blue cube would go on the 0 because it doesn't have any shields.
Yeah, it's because there's nothing. And then there's all the status effects. So
when it gets stunned, you put a cube on there to mark that it's stunned.
Yeah. So I have a personal vendetta against tokens. Uh-huh. I really dislike tokens, and that's why we have this dual layer board, because I hate looking for like the stun token out of
Right,
like the
okay.
20 different tokens. So that was the reasoning behind this.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is that this particular thing here, this is for one specific ship.
Yeah.
And if there were two of these, we would have a second one with another card in there.
Yes, exactly. And
Okay.
and at max there will be 8 enemies on the board
Right.
at a time.
Yep.
But there's a lot of missions where it's like spawning and stuff, and so.
Right. Okay. So speaking of the AI cards, then is that this one?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. This one.
Yeah. Those 3. I don't know what that says on the back, but
It says Tukochka Assault Enemy Combat.
okay. Yeah. Sure. These ones
That'll
are
do, will
like
it?
Act 2 ships.
Okay. But if we just put that on again, so this is a card that is basically telling you what that ship's going to do.
Yeah, so you have the command line at the bottom, which shows you its thinking, right? So this is a very simple card where it's attack, rotate, move, rotate, attack.
Yep.
Some of them you can kind of, if you flip, find one that has like a branching command line. The motherships. Okay, yeah. So this one has a branching command line, right?
Yep.
So at first it'll attack. If it did attack, it will go up, right, and then it will move. But if it wasn't able to attack, it would then rotate, move, and then try to attack again.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So they all have like that kind of simple command line, and then so all enemies of that type would follow the same card.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're kind of all moving around. So each enemy type has their own deck, gets flipped over, and then they work through it.
Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned earlier on that. There's definitely little bits of Gloomhaven in here, the attack modifier deck, but also the enemy combat cards where you will draw one, and that will determine what the enemy does. So you've taken inspiration from that. What other games have you taken inspiration from when putting this together?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the inspiration, like fan of Gloomhaven. So whenever I played that for the first time 4 years ago, I was like, hey, I love sci-fi. Why can't we do some sort of combo of that?
Yeah.
And it started out much more Gloomhaven-y. Now when you play it, if you've played Gloomhaven, you can kind of see the inspiration, but I don't know. There's a few things that are it's really just like the modifier decks.
Yes.
Yeah, and when the enemy cards, they feel so different than Gloomhaven.
Right.
But the other kind of some other inspiration. So there's the square cards.
These ones.
Yes, those ones. So
This
these
is
are
where you're exploring a planet or something.
Yeah. So this is like the kind of the planetary exploration aspect, or world exploration is what we call it.
Yeah. Which one should I open?
What's the top one say?
Chozek.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to show
open.
too much because this is definitely going to be spoiler territory. But
Yeah,
when you're exploring a planet surface, this is again a little bit Seventh Continent Tainted Grail-esque.
Yeah, exactly. It would be less gamey than either of those. So
Right.
it really is. In some ways, it's kind of like it's a pretty large change of pace from the core game. And if a player is like, if they could care less about the world exploration aspect, there's only like 2 mandatory world explorations.
Right.
And then a lot of them are just kind of like as you're exploring. Yeah. So you start here. This is like
I've revealed this one because it says start here.
Yeah, right. And then you have an option to go upward to the right, and then as you're playing this, you're interacting with the scenario book. You're doing different skill checks, and it's more like a little bit like more puzzly kind of lore based. So you're going to learn a lot about the world and stuff as you do the world exploration.
Okay. Now, over here, if you just want to touch on the mechanics a bit, this says 0-2, and then there's 2 icons which look like either an orange or a green dice.
Yeah. So what you're going to do, each kind of round of world exploration, you have your dice. And the dice are, core for the space combat and for the world exploration. For space combat, you'll roll your 4 dice, and then you'll assign them to your actions, and then you'll move and all that stuff. For world exploration, the dice are kind of more like a resource. So you choose an action, and then you roll your dice, and if you have enough matching icons, then you can perform that action.
Right.
So this is like 2, and it's of any color. So you wouldn't ever roll more than 2 dice, but it's basically using up 2 of your dice. Some of them are like 2 green only. And if that's the case, then, you might be like, I really want to make sure I do this. I'm going to roll 3 dice so I can get, the 2 greens in order to succeed that skill
and
check.
And then you'll move to card number 2, which will be
flip and reveal. Right. Yes, exactly.
Now, do you say that there's a narrative element that goes along with these cards? Is that all in the scenario book as well?
Yeah, so you can actually open up the scenario book. Chosik should be fairly early on. I think like mission 6. Number 6 or number 9, you'll see it's formatted differently. More. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so don't look too closely. But what we've got is a series of numbered entries with text.
Yeah.
So whenever you get to number 1, you read that. Whenever you get to number 2, you read that. And then within these, there's lots of extra stuff. Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. One of your, I'm just looking, Silver Fear on your channel asked about solo play. So solo, you can do it 2 ways. There is a true solo mode where you're only controlling 1 ship.
Right. Okay.
We've designed the game for that. And otherwise, I like playing solo like 2-handed.
Yeah.
So having 2 ships, it's not because the game's more. I think it's like tactical instead of strategic in space combat. You're more. You roll your dice and then you plan your action as opposed to like strategizing like multiple turns ahead. We wanted to capture the feeling of like dogfighting.
Yeah.
And so it's fun 2-handed. So this is the Sparrow.
This is the Sparrow
board. Yeah, and so underneath, if you lift it up, there's all the slots for the cubes up top there.
Yep.
So you can kind of store all the cubes, and then when you're playing the game, the Sparrow board has a round tracker on it. And it has health. Sometimes the Sparrow, is attacked.
Yep.
You're defending it, and then there's like a supply. So this is like a little bit of the resource management as you're moving the Sparrow and doing different actions with the Sparrow in Galaxy Exploration. You're using up supply, and so that kind of drains as you do, and that will save from game to game. The lid has a spot so that the supply saves.
Yeah, cool. Now, this game is currently being delivered to backers. There are some backers have got it, some backers haven't got it yet.
A majority of backers have gotten it, and I think the remaining. I'm trying to think. I believe the EU, UK, and US fulfillment finishes at the end of this week.
Right. Okay. Now, in terms of your workload, this was obviously a beast to design. Not just design the core mechanisms of the game, but let's just look at the scenario book again. Somebody had to write all of this.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like 110, 120,000 words.
There's a lot of pages in here. Did you do this all yourself, or did you have help with some of this stuff?
No, absolutely not. There's a big team on it.
Right.
So we had a couple writers, obviously a couple artists, graphic designers. I was the principal game designer on it. We had a couple. Our community is really good. So we had a lot of playtesting community. I brought on someone also just to, I think his name is Nick. He played like the game 20 hours a week for a number of months. And so he played a lot of the game just because it's, balancing a game this large, scenario based. It's quite a beast. So it was good. And, it's great that it seems that people are enjoying it, which is always like a nerve-wracking thing.
Well, that's the thing. So you obviously put in all of the work up front. Was the game completely designed before you went to Kickstarter, or was it mostly done? Right. Okay.
Oh, it wasn't even mostly done, Paul.
Oh, right. Okay. So you used Kickstarter to fund the project, which, to be fair, is what Kickstarter is supposed to be used for. Then the hard work started when you suddenly got all of the support financially, more than you were expecting. But then once you've sent all of the files to the printer, it's then the waiting game, isn't it?
Yeah, waiting game. Dealing with logistics. Obviously, everyone has had a challenge in the past year or two fulfilling stuff through Kickstarter. A lot of costs incurred that we weren't anticipating. But it's exciting to kind of reach a finish line here.
Yeah, but you were saying just before we went live,
Yeah.
you'd underestimated how much time you'd spend now that backers are starting to get their copies. So what is it that you're spending your time on now that your work's done, the game's out there?
Yeah, it is interesting. So it reminds me a lot of the Kickstarter process, right? I like to be very involved with the community, interacting with people, Facebook, Discord, Kickstarter, and Board Game Geek, whatever it is, and so everyone's getting the game. Obviously, people have questions. There's little errors in the rule book or whatever. It's a big game. And so, it's fun to kind of circle back and be involved in that. But it's also been like, oh yeah, Kickstarters, when they happen, they're all consuming because that's like, 24/7 job. And it feels a little bit like that, maybe a little, not quite as much, but being able to interact and a big part that's like, so for me, that's really fun. I enjoy doing that and enjoy the, I guess the forward public facing, side of the job. And sometimes when you're in design land, even in waiting land, you don't forget about why you're doing what you're doing, but it's hard. It's sometimes hard to remember, right? But then now you see, everyone's posting pictures of them playing the game, sharing stories, right? And you're like, oh yeah, we designed this game so that people could come together or, have a great experience themselves, exploring like a new world and a new galaxy and just having a fun time. So
yeah, cool. So you mentioned that obviously it's a big game.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. There are a few bits of FAQ and tweaks and things like that. I remember seeing a list of them somewhere. But are you you're compiling a list of FAQ?
Yes, yeah. So actively on Board Game Geek needs. I'm a little bit behind. I think need to update that, and then we will be publishing. We want to kind of publish like a formal
a nice
FAQ.
PDF or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is still in the making sure all the little things are getting caught right now.
Yeah. Okay. So at the moment we're in the phase where fans of the game and people are playing it are spotting some things, asking you're going, oh yeah, there's a slight error there, and compiling all of that. So if you've got the game and you're playing it, make sure you check out. There's a page on Board Game Geek, presumably, with the FAQ.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, there's not many like game breaking things. Maybe I'm speaking incorrectly, but.
I had a quick look through it, and the one thing that I think I got from it is that the contents page was wrong, in that it says, there's this many of these, and actually there should be this many, and there's this many of these, and it should be this many.
Yes.
That is minor, but what other things are there that have been spotted that people need to be careful about? Yeah,
so the biggest issue that I've seen so far, there's a scenario that I don't know where it happened in the editing process, that I think one of our graphic designers accidentally deleted it or copy and pasted incorrectly. So there's a scenario, and thankfully it's just like a side scenario where you're like discovering a planet. So it's like a lore scenario. So it's not gameplay essential.
Yeah.
But it's like one paragraph copy and pasted 3 times.
Okay.
And so that was like, oh my gosh, what happened there?
Yeah.
So we've updated that online.
Okay. Been there, done that. So
yeah,
excellent.
Wild.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, it's a pretty big game. I'm keen to definitely try it out because I remember, when was it that I did the rulebook consultancy for this? Was it 18 months ago now?
I think so. Yeah, we had a version of the rulebook, right? You took us through a test on GTS. You tore it apart in a good way, and then completely kind of came back and restructured. I don't think you had a chance to go through the revised.
No, I've not seen it since. So it'll be interesting now for me to go through it and see how I get on with it.
Yeah.
John is asking in the chat, how long to play one scenario? So a particular one game session. Are we talking 2 hours, 5 hours?
No. So I think a beauty with Akarios is that you get a pretty meaty, fun experience, and you can finish a scenario depending on the people, but you can finish it in 30 to 60 minutes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and so if you're playing solo, like on a scenario, like it's because it just moves quick, and then even when you're not playing solo, we encourage players acting at the same time. Yeah. In space combat, and so it moves at a fun pace. So
right.
People when they're playing it, they'll get done 2 or 3 scenarios in a game session,
right.
like in an evening, in a couple hours.
Okay.
So yeah.
Interesting. Right. So so short playtime for an individual mission then. Ricky's also asking, I think in the chat, is there going to be an official version on Tabletop Simulator? Because obviously there was the test one that we were using during development, but are you going to be releasing a full-blown version of this on TTS?
Yeah, we'll have like a slice available on TTS. And I was actually just chatting with our TTS guy about that, so I need to get him queued up. And I think Rick asked about lots of text in that rulebook, not many pictures. I think there's a lot of pictures in the rulebook.
I did flip through it quickly. There's a few.
I don't know.
Yeah. The good thing is it looks spaced out, so there's not. Yeah. It doesn't look cramped. You've got a nice line spacing between the thing. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we'll find out. There's a few.
We'll find out.
We'll find out when I sit down and I have a read through it. So. Right. Was there anything that you wanted me to ask you that I didn't ask? Oh, there's these bits. What are these bits?
Oh yeah, those are your progression pads, right? So you're able to kind of track your progress, level up your character.
Okay.
As you go. Yeah. So it's like you'll modify your decks a bit. You'll be able to upgrade your starting ship's stats. There's trauma on there. So when your character. So the game is a fail forward game. For those of you who are maybe unfamiliar with that term, it means that if you do not successfully complete a mission, you still proceed, right? So there's a success and a failure conclusion on each mission, and so there's consequences to success. But we also have a little bit of a catch up mechanism. It's called like a bolster boost mechanism. So if you fail, you kind of start with a little bit of a buff, and you can do that like multiple times. So because there's the thing of like, okay, if you snowball, or if you're failing several missions over and over and over again, then you're weak as opposed to like the level of maybe the enemy ships. But we've designed around that. So
they are different.
Oh yes, yeah.
So each of these characters develops in a different way.
Yeah, and same with the ships. Each of the ships has has 2 different classes, and depending on the class of ship, so you can see it on the ship tile. Those
this as well.
New...
What that is. I don't know what that is. Ship tile.
Oh yeah, that's your squad progression thing. Like those little punch outs, the ship punch outs. Yeah. So on the back of that. So it has like on the back of it has the letters, I think.
C and R.
Yeah, so it's command and a research ship. So on the weapon and engine, on all the upgrade cards that you'll be purchasing and unlocking throughout the game, you'll have to make sure that they match one of those letters.
So certain upgrades can only go on certain ships depending on the class of the ship.
Exactly.
Yeah. I see. Cool. Right. Well, one of the things that I'm going to be doing this evening while sat in front of TV is I was going to take all of this out and put it all away. But actually what I'm going to do is basically take all of these out of their shrink wrap and put them back into the tray exactly where they came from. I'll punch out the bits of the punch board. They go down in the bottom. We've got some extra miniatures in here as well. So these are when you're on the planet moving around?
Yeah, so the pilot miniatures. So I believe there's 8. Yeah, look at them. It's fun. So these are some of the unlockable ones. The other ones that are your base ones come in the core packs.
Right.
And then there's the ships that you can unlock too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but we also have the ships of Akarios. So there's already some miniatures in there. But what we've got is if you backed this.
Oh yeah, you get all that.
Then we have even more miniatures.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, so these
Yeah.
are all the enemy ships.
Right. Okay. So all of the ships that we saw in the main box, they are player
Oh,
ships.
yeah, player ships,
Right.
player characters.
But
Yeah,
these are all enemy ships. Which, if you don't have this, you're using
the
these
punch
plastic
outs.
standees, punch outs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, these look quite nice. I
The
had a quick look at these yesterday. These
Yeah,
are very
kind of
nice.
the cool thing with this. So if you grab the stands, there's two sizes of stands. They're a little bit tight to get in at
They
first.
are a bit tight. Yeah, I was going to ask you about
Um,
that.
yeah,
What's
so
the
you want to make
advice
sure that
if you find them a bit tight?
um,
File these down a little bit. I mean that's gone in
yeah,
okay.
yeah, you can,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like you make sure that it doesn't snap.
Just be
I
careful.
found that I found that they're pretty sturdy. The neat thing, this is actually, and so I'll give full credit to my wife for this. When we were originally like playing the game, we kept on finding that the ship miniatures would like run into each other on the
Okay.
map because they're quite big, right?
Yep.
Some of these miniatures they're significant. So then we just like we have the two tiered of stands, and it's really neat. Like the big ones are like looming over the small ones.
Yep.
And it's cool table presence once you get the ships up there. It looks
Yep.
really neat.
And I started a thread on the Stars of Akarios Facebook group yesterday for people to post their painted miniatures pictures.
Yeah.
And there's been a few responses already. So yeah, it's been quite nice to see the painting that some people have done on these, because a lot of these. I mean, this is big. This is
Yeah, it's
quite
big.
it's quite a big figure, whatever that one is. I don't know.
Synthetic Titan.
Aha. But yeah, these are quite like I personally like these. I think
Yeah,
these are probably my
the
favorite
Ronin.
design. So
Yeah, they're cool.
they're gonna look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. So yeah, miniatures expansion for those people who have it. And
Yeah.
let us know if you do and you're painting the miniatures, because I'm looking for inspiration on them. Right, I think we're all done. So what's your
Yeah,
plans for
love it.
today then? Answer more questions about this.
Yeah, fielding some stuff, looking at some kind of potential, what's next in the Akarios world, universe, timeline stuff, and then meeting with people. We got a couple other projects on the go.
Yep.
At Stars. Obviously, if people are familiar with us, we launched Mythwind,
Mythwind?
I think in the
Yep.
fall. So we're finishing development on that, which is exciting, and then we have a couple guys, ex Fantasy Flight guys, Max Brook and Luke Eddy. They're from Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Legion. They're developing a new game for us called Stone Saga, which is like a survival crafting game.
Yep.
Really neat to show. So we'll be showing that in a couple months.
Okay.
But we're significant. Like the game is basically finished, and it's
Nice.
sweet.
Nice. But going back to Stars of Akarios, is there a retail version of this?
There is. Unfortunately, it is only available in Canada and the US at the moment. There's a link on our website that if you're outside of North America, just fill it out, and we'll let you know that when it becomes available worldwide. It's a big game. It costs like an arm and a leg to ship, and so we're being mindful about how we go about fulfilling. We have a lot of people asking overseas, wanting to get the game, who missed it on Kickstarter because frankly we were basically an unknown entity 2 years ago. And so there's a lot of people who maybe are a little bit hesitant when they see a project of this scale. Hey, can the company deliver? And about whether or not they're going in. So hopefully we have an option for you soon.
Yeah, cool. But you mentioned potential expansion coming for this, maybe?
Yep.
Okay, which presumably would then go back to Kickstarter, and people would be able to back the base game and the expansion then.
Yeah, that would be the hope. Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously with that version, like somebody I think actually asked on Board Game Geek just this morning, hey, when's version 2 coming out? And guaranteed it will not be delivered in 2022, like not even in the first half of 2023. Right? To put something like, even if we went to the printer and like, hey, print this all now, it would show up, I don't even know, May. And so and obviously we want to spend some time, fixing the little issues, the bugs, polishing it a bit. So yeah.
So Mythwind, Stone Saga, and then once those two are done, potentially back to Stars of Akarios.
Yeah, something like that.
There you go.
Okay, keep the cards a little bit close to the chest right now.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you get back to your day. It's 9 o'clock in the morning over there.
It is.
Yeah. So you've got a full day ahead of you, whereas I'm just finishing for the day. Well, I say just finishing. I've got all this to put away. So I will go and do this. Right. Well, thank you very much for joining me in this unboxing interview kind of thing. And we'll speak soon about Mythwind.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, thanks, gaming rules community. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody for watching. And we'll see you all soon. Take care, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.